Hello and welcome to the King's Forum podcast show. I have a very special guest here, Rebecca Fox. Hi, Rebecca. How you
Hey,
doing?
yeah, I'm good. Are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Rebecca's a mindset and performance lifestyle specialist, and what I thought might be interesting is for Rebecca to tell her story of how she got to this point and just kind of her life journey, and that makes her the great mindset lifestyle performance specialist that she is. So, Rebecca, could we just start with, what you did before, being a mindset specialist? Because
Yeah.
you train horses still, but you used to also compete. So, could you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, so basically, when I was 15, I got headhunted. I was riding and I got approached by someone that asked me to go and ride and train for them professionally. So, as a student, that's what I did. So, I left school at 15, took off, did the job. Yeah. And did really well at it. So I did that for 5 years and I competed to like international top level, produced some really great horses. And then basically I met a guy and up sticks and moved with him. And then, yeah, things sort of changed a little bit. Then I just sort of what you call agented horses. So shipped them, sold them, got them for people, that kind of stuff. So it was always like when I first left school, it was all about performance and it was about being able to deliver under pressure because you get one shot when it comes to getting on that competition platform. One shot, that's it. So you've got to be able to cope under pressure. And at 15,
That's
when you look back now, it's like, shit, you know what? That's young, right?
you have
So
to be a particular individual to be doing it at that younger age and to be that
yeah.
focused. And like you said,
Oh
winning and competing. So yeah. So talk a bit about the mindset you had to have to be winning and competing at that age.
it it's just for me it boiled down to the focus and everything sort of on those kind of professional yards, everything's structured. So everything's structured, everything's routined. I was surrounded by really good people, professional people that if I
Mm,
had a problem I could
yeah,
just ask. So
yeah.
you've got the support, like they're holding you accountable, like they expect certain things of you, but the pressure I was under, I worked 6 days a week, long hours, often seven when we was traveling and competing. But you just kind of got on with it because the ultimate goal was to get on that platform with the horse that you produced and deliver, basically. So you just kind of got on with it. But because the structure was there,
Mm,
there was no room for error. Do you know what I mean? It was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
these were the routines, this is what we do. You get on with it and you deliver it. It's as simple as that.
No, I hear that. That you had the structure in place, so you just fit in. Because it's all
Yeah,
like
you do.
as you said, you're working with the professionals, the people who know what they're doing. So it's kind of like you are this role, this is what you do. We've got everything in place for it to succeed and to function like it always has done even before you got there, but you're just a part of this rather than you're driving this all yourself. So yeah, I get that. I get that.
Yes, you've just got to step up, step up and deliver, basically.
So did you always have that mindset as a young girl, like to be winning and this focus to leave school and this kind of this did you have this drive is what I'm getting at a young age?
No, and it's
Oh,
funny because, yeah, well, ironically, so it's only as I've got sort of older and obviously I've analysed my life and analysed myself as such that I've actually realised what drove that. And I had an appalling childhood growing up. It was very abusive mentally and physically. So it was like I could never do anything right. All I wanted to do was have my parents go, "We're proud of you, well done."
I hear.
And that was never an option. So it was like I was actually quite shy as a child. I was always kind of had low self-esteem, low confidence. And then I'm offered this humongous opportunity. And it was like, it was my dream as a child, you know, to compete at that level. And I just went along with it. I just did as I'm told. And once you sort of you prove yourself that you are worthy and you can win and you can do well, I think that's when the bug then takes over. And
Mm,
then expectation, you know, the bar's high, right? So you just keep going. And for me, I think it was from my childhood where all I wanted to do was make my parents proud and have that relayed to me. It was like, I'm given this opportunity now to show my worth. So I'm going to deliver. And that's what I did. But at the time, I didn't know that. I didn't recognize that at all, you know? But
yeah.
now I look and I go, yep, that's what it is. That was my limiting belief. That's what made me do so well at what I did, you know?
Did you actually enjoy winning and competing? Was it an enjoyment, or was you just doing it because you...
I used to absolutely shit my pants, in all honesty. Um, I used to be a bag of nerves, and I remember, so we had like a big indoor school, and I didn't know at the time there was cameras in there. So I used to have a real thing about people watching me ride. And the lady I worked for was like seriously top level. She was ranked number 8 in the world. So, you know, yeah, super, super good. So she said to me one day, Rebecca, come, I need to show you something. And I thought, oh no, I've done something wrong. This is not good. And she sat me down and put on this video. And it was of me schooling a horse in the indoor menage. And I sort of looked at her and I thought, what's coming now? She said, just so you know, when you think no one's watching, we are always watching. She said, so get that out of your head that you have a thing about people watching you, you clam up, like they're always watching you. And for me, it was like that was the turning point. You know, like that just stopped. I wouldn't say it stopped the fear because you always had that little sort of pit, you know, before you go in and stuff. But it made me get over myself. Basically, you know.
Sometimes we need that, don't we? That voice of experience that you know, to then, you know, trigger something in our minds to be like, oh, actually, you know what? I'm building this up to be this big thing, and really, this is the situation. And you know how I approach this. You know, I now will look at this differently because they may be more aware of what have you. But you were very young, so it was hard to have that, as you said. Now you look back with experience and going through what you have in your life, you can now reflect on that and say, oh yeah, I was feeling these emotions. So
Yeah.
you know, because you're a lot wiser, and experience does that, and obviously what you do as well, you know, definitely helps.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
let's talk about the sacrifices you made to succeed along this journey of horse riding and training horses.
Okay, so one of the sacrifices was my physical health,
Mm,
actually. Um, yeah, like, you know, at that age, I was pushing and pushing, and I was riding like 6 horses a day, one after the other. And,
wow.
you know, they're like Ferraris. These aren't just plod along things, these are proper sports horses. So it's hard work. And I had like a consistently sore lower back. I had major issues there. I'm hypermobile. So at the time, again, I was completely unaware, but because my joints extended so much, I didn't have the muscular strength to support and stabilize.
Mm,
So because it was literally, that was the job. Like I didn't eat properly. I went through a stage of being like super, super skinny, you know, where I just didn't eat. It was just consistently going forward. So without a shadow of a doubt, my physical health was poor. You know, it was poor, but just because of it was that environment, you know, you're expected to be very slim when you're on horses. There's that expectation, and everyone around me was the same. That's the environment you're in. So you kind of go with it, you know, and get along. So definitely that. I wouldn't say like I had lots of friends, I had a big circle support system around me. It was definitely just physical health that I would sacrifice on, yeah.
what about your mental health?
No, like my mental health was good because I
Mm,
was just Like I was in that zone. I
Yeah.
was just
No, I hear you.
focus was insane.
Yeah.
But then what I did find out, again, this was like years later. So, going along another 10 years down the line, when I started again to evaluate myself and coach myself, so to speak, I realized that actually I'm a high functioning stress addict. Like
Mm,
I never function well on immense amounts of stress. And that again was ingrained into me. You're not going to do well unless the stress is there,
yeah.
you know? And then when the stress wasn't there, like if I took a day off, for instance, and I had nothing to do, I'd be sort of shaking. My legs couldn't keep still, my mind couldn't, because, like
Yeah.
it's like, well, hang on, how do I function without stress? I didn't know,
Yeah.
that was a way of life for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Conditioning. This is how I am. This is how I
Yeah,
function on a day to day. And now when I'm not doing it, now what do I do?
100%. Yeah,
What do I
yeah.
do with this? I'm so used to be going non-stop, and now I'm not, and I'm just left to my own devices. What do I do now? So no, I totally hear you. I totally hear you. Was it difficult to have good relationships? You said you had a network of friends and stuff. Were there meaningful relationships? Do you think good friendships from around that time?
Yeah, like for sure. Like all those people, they're still in my circle of friends now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was fortunate to be around very good people, but it was a performance job, and
Mhm.
that's what it was. So yeah,
And it was really friends within that environment, yeah, rather than outside of it.
yeah, like it was very close knit. Yeah. So I didn't have. I literally left home at 15. I lived on the yard. Everyone I worked with, that was my bubble. Yeah, like I didn't go out. I didn't go out socializing. I just competed and worked. That is all I did until I was 20, and then I had a rare weekend off. And I went into London for a night out and met a guy. And yeah, like my back was really bad at the time. And he just said, you know, that you could do this on your own, right? And I didn't genuinely didn't have a clue, and I sort of went, I don't think so. And he was like, yeah, we can get all this set up. You could run your own yard. You could do this yourself. And then yeah, basically within sort of 6 months, that's what I did. I left the job, set up my own business. Yeah, like the import and the export and the training, and that's what we did. So
That's an achievement in itself, especially when it's
yeah,
something you never thought you could ever do. Something
yeah, and
like
again, yeah, it goes back to like the people that you surround yourself with, because
definitely.
I genuinely, like if it wasn't for him going, well, actually, this is doable, I'd probably still be doing that job now, you know, like genuinely, because you are who you surround yourself with.
100%. 100%.
So,
Definitely. I was going to say, do you ever look back and think that you maybe missed out on your teenage years, on just kind of experiencing and living that as a young girl turning into a woman and just having fun and doing the regular stuff? Or is it the kind of thing of, oh, that was my journey and that's it?
no, because do you know what? That saved my life. If I hadn't have left home at 15 and got away from the situation I was in, I honestly believe to this day, I don't think I'd be here. This is,
Wow.
yeah, I was incredibly depressed. I
Yeah.
hated my life. I had no support, and everything at that point was just negative, and I mean everything. So then to be put in a situation where I'm surrounded by people that loved me, that cared for me, I was given purpose.
Mm,
That absolutely saved my life. I was so grateful.
yeah.
So,
Gave you
you know,
gave you a sense of family and what
oh, for
a,
sure.
a positive sense of family, and you felt a part of something that you mattered.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. That's what it was.
Like you said, it saved you. It gave you that real sense of what you was missing, that void in your life. You know,
Mm.
yes, it was tough, but you felt a part of something and you achieved. So then you felt good that you achieved within it as well. So yeah,
Mm.
definitely. No, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
You also lost your grandfather. He passed as well.
Yeah, so yeah, like I say, so growing up, I didn't have a relationship with my mum and dad,
Mm,
but I did have a strong relationship with my nan and granddad, and I spent a fair bit of time with them when I
yeah.
could. So school holidays, weekends. Otherwise, I was at home. So I see my grandparents as my parents, definitely. And yeah, so like one of the biggest turning points of my whole life. So one of the first ones was when I was 15 and I left home, definitely. And then when I was 28, so I had the business, I was with my partner that I'd been with for 8 years. And then within 3 months, I got told my granddad had terminal cancer. So at that point, I hadn't lost anyone close to me. So I didn't know what that felt like.
Yeah.
So that was tough to deal with. So within 3 months, my granddad passed, and that for me was it was insane. Because I think until you've grieved, it's really hard to understand how that actually feels. It's such a different feeling, right?
Yeah.
And at that point, I'd also decided to leave my long term ex, which in turn meant giving up my business, giving up the home we shared. So
Wow.
I literally went from having a stable relationship, business, happy. Well, I say happy. I left him, so I wasn't fully happy, but I was certainly safe. Yeah, I was safe. That's what I
Yeah.
was. I was safe.
You had
And I
security.
just gone, right. Yeah, I just gone, right. Do you know what? I'm getting rid of a whole lot and I'm starting afresh. So I was then homeless, virtually skint, grieving for my granddad. I'd lost my support system, which was my partner. And yeah, it was like, now what do I do? And that actually was the biggest turning point. And I had a little bit of money left and I thought, okay, be smart now because, the equine industry no longer offers anything for me because unless you've got your own base and property, it's really tricky to earn a living, a stable living out of it.
Mm,
So I knew, yes, I've got clients, but if the horses are sick or they're sick or the weather's bad, it all gets cancelled. And you can't live like that, right?
no,
You've got to have that consistent income.
need that.
So I was at the gym one day training, and one of my friends come up to me. I've always done yoga, I've practiced yoga, and that started actually when I was young, sort of 16, when I was training the horses. Someone said, "Oh, you should do that because you're hypermobile," and I sort of, whatever, I've got enough going on. So I was doing a bit of yoga, and my friend came up and said, "Do you know what? You're really good at that. You should teach it." And I sort of thought, really? She went, "Yeah, like you teach anyway. You're
Yeah.
confident in what you do. You're good at relaying things. Why don't you teach yoga?" And I thought, yeah, why don't I? So the last little bit of money I had, I invested into teacher training. I passed, I think it was within it was a 2 year course, but because I wasn't working, I was able to really get stuck in and I passed it within 8 months. And then after that, I did more. Basically, I just kept investing in more courses, more qualifications, more knowledge. And yeah, then it was like, okay, now I'm going to build a yoga and wellness business. So that's what I did. Yeah. And that was great because then again, I've got a purpose. My purpose has come back. I'm teaching, I'm helping people. And I definitely know I am a teacher or a coach. That is what I'm good at. That's where I, you know, flourish and grow is teaching and helping others. So I'd gone from training horses, which is similar, then teaching the yoga and doing workshops, seminars, all that kind of stuff, on quite a big scale as well. And then yeah, it was like, okay, now what else can I add to this? So then I wanted to do my mindfulness, my transcend
Yeah.
meditations, and then I wanted to do my mindset stuff, my performance coaching, my lifestyle coaching. I just kept growing and growing and growing.
Yeah.
And yeah, here I am, online courses and yeah, workshops. So it's all kind of coming off from that, really. And I think you just get to a point where you realize your worth and realize your purpose, and then you just start to build on it and you continuously grow.
Build more and more layers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Can we just go back a little? I'm just curious about the grief and you losing your granddad. There's a lot that happened after the other, one after the other. You ending your relationship, losing your business. Sorry, well, you cut that off. Was that connected with your partner? Was it your business to why you had to cut ties with that?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, go on.
Yeah, so no, so basically that was the package. It was his property, you know, so if I was to leave him, I had to leave everything.
Yeah.
That was how it was. Um and yeah, like, you know, I think indefinitely, you know, okay, so I'm a high functioning stress addict. I'm much better now, but when situations like that arise, that's when I function the best. So it
Oh,
was like,
hey.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm like, right, okay, so I've got nothing. So I need now to achieve something. And it's like that push and that drive that I've always had. It's so deep within me. Like my determination is just relentless, which is good and bad, you know, but I have to recognize when it's getting too much and then I have to pull it back again.
Yeah.
But at that point, my stress levels were through the roof and I was functioning incredibly well to an extent, you know. Again, physically I wasn't particularly eating,
I was gonna say, yeah.
but I think that took me, I don't know, a month, like a month to, after my granddad and everything else, a month to kind of sort out a property, sort out what I was doing, you know, like actually sort things out and go, right, okay, I'm back on track now. Which is relatively short space of time, but
It's a very short space of time for what you went
yeah,
through.
yeah. But for me, it was like that was the time, right? Okay, you've got to step up now. The stress is
Yeah.
high.
Yeah.
I'm functioning, you know, it was, yeah,
I was just
effective, I
gonna say,
guess.
did you fully deal with the grief? Because you kind of just went on and got on with stuff, and did you process that?
Yeah. So when I started doing my mindfulness master work, that is when I actually did process it because
Mm,
again, because my forte is working through stress. Once the stress there, I just keep achieving, and I'm blinkered to everything else. That's how I function. But like one of my favorite sayings is, "You can't read the label when you're stuck in the jar."
yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. I
you
like.
know what? Yeah, when I'm in that stress focus, I'm in that jar and I'm just keeping going until I get out of that jar and actually sit and look at the label and go, right, shit, you're functioning at too high a level. You've not actually looked at the grief, you've not processed what's happened, you've just buried it and carried on, which is ultimately going to crash and burn you. But to be able to do that is a skill, right? To actually recognize that when you're confined in that jar, to actually get out and have a look, it's super difficult. And like I said, at the time, I believe everything happens for a reason. Like I believe in the universe, I believe in how things come and go and karma, everything. And it was like everything was given to me at the right time. You know, when I was 15, I was suicidal, but I've been
Mm,
offered this great opportunity. Okay, I've lived. When I was 20 and my back was in bits, I've met a guy that's given me a new opportunity, you know, and everything sort of happened. So at that point, I'd met this incredible yoga teacher, and his name's Jambo Dragon, and the guy is just,
cool
oh
name.
my god, yeah, he is
Cool
just
name.
amazing. Yeah, he comes from a shaman background.
Yeah.
So like he's just incredible. Just being in his presence just
Mm.
does something to me. And it was again him. I would say he then was like my wake up call, and it was like, okay, you need to deal with this. Like you need to look at this. And then I started learning the process. I started training in it, and then I fully understood it, and I could actually deal with it. And you know, when it comes to dealing with grief or any emotions along those lines, you've just got to sit with them, which is where we struggle as humans,
Yeah.
because we're often taught that negative emotions are to be avoided. You
Yeah.
can't be sad. You can't be angry.
Yeah.
Well, of course you can. You know? So what we tend to do when they bubble up is we hide away from them and lock them in, but it's doing more damage. So to be able to sit and feel sad and let yourself cry and feel all the love that you once had, it's incredibly difficult to do. You know, and actually that's a hard one to start off with when it comes to sitting with your emotions, because you've got so many going on for the grieving process, right?
No, I totally connect with that. You know, I'm just thinking back to when my dad passed 6 years ago, and kind of that whole, you know, not wanting to sit there and just accept it, and this is what I'm feeling, and it's okay, and
Mm.
always trying it. And I just went into work mode, and I was just so focused on, you know, my work, and I was overworking and not looking after myself, and just to try and put this so far in the back of my mind that, you know what, I just don't want to feel like this, because I, you know, that whole thing of being vulnerable and feeling sad and not liking it, not it's not a happy place. So
Mm.
I'm trying to put all these emotions to the back of my mind, and these feelings, I'm gonna hide them and put them in a box. And you know, it's gonna come up every now and then, but no, that's okay, because I just want to get on with this, and I don't remember it because the thoughts aren't nice and it doesn't make me feel good. So I was doing a lot of that. So I definitely connect with what you're saying. And until I, you know, I got therapy and, you know, spoke to a specialist on it, and opened up and just talked about it, and just sat there and had those moments when I would cry and, you know, and feel vulnerable and accept it for what it was. Did I feel real closure with it? Did I feel I was getting somewhere in my life? You know,
Yeah.
just accept that acceptance of it all, that this has happened and it's made you feel sad and it's crappy. Deal with it. That's a part of it. You know,
Mm.
embrace it. You're human. You're not a robot. You can't just turn these emotions off and just get on with your life. You can't really get on with your life and function until you deal with these emotions. So yeah, I definitely connect with that.
Yeah, and you know, it's like what you said, it's that vulnerability that we're brought up to hide. Like
Mm,
we're shown, we're taught from a young age that, you know, we've if we're vulnerable, we're going to be hurt.
yeah,
It's
that's right.
inevitable, but that isn't true. And what I loved about the grieving process actually was the fact that you can grieve is the fact you've loved.
Yeah.
You've been able to love and you've been loved, and that was like, for me, that was the light bulb. You know, it was like, I remember my granddad's love. I know how it feels, and that's how I grieved. And it was like everything else just slipped away, you know?
How important do you think your life experience has helped you becoming the mindset and performance lifestyle specialist that you are?
Yeah, like massively. You know, you can read a book, you can read as much as you want, but the truth is how we work as humans is on connection. And if I can't, like what you just said, you could connect with how I felt in that grieving process because you've been there.
Yeah.
I've had so many experiences through my life. I can connect with people, and it's like an example I give to someone. So one of my clients, this is no, I feel sorry for her, but cutting the story short, she was going to get married. The guy stood her up at the altar.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
Thing you only
And
see in movies that you don't actually think happens in reality. You know, that whole, like, you can't imagine that actually happening. It's not a movie thing.
Yeah, right. You can't imagine it, yeah? And then to top it off, her best friend, who was the bridesmaid, basically said to her, do you know what? You should have seen this coming. There were loads of red flags. More for you. Now, okay, let's be real. Like you said, this is the sort of thing happens in movies. But I bet you felt embarrassed, ashamed, sad. I bet you felt those feelings at some point. So, yes, you've never been stood up at the altar, but you certainly know what it feels like to be embarrassed, to be ashamed. So, you can connect with her on that level. You can connect with the fact that those feelings were present. Different experience, but we've had the same feelings. So, that's how we connect as humans. And like you said, you know, when I talk to my clients, they've all experienced depression, stress. These are all natural things, grieving, suicide. We all have up and down days. That is life. You know, you can't be positive 24/7. Let's get real here. So, and the fact that I think when you embrace these experiences, this is what is ultimately going to allow you to connect with other people. Because you're not afraid of it, you're not ashamed of it. Yeah. So yeah, for sure. Like it's definitely my life experience, regardless of all the qualifications, all the books I've read, is what allows me to be so good at what I do, without a doubt.
Do you think it's changed your approach to life and how you go about your day to day?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, because again, like one of the biggest turning points for me was that whole thing of you can't be happy all the time, but equally you don't need to be sad all the time. We fluctuate through life. We live in a beautiful state and a suffering state, but vary in degrees, and that's how we go through life. And once I kind of recognized that, and I could connect by being in the moment, present, using mindfulness, that was when I was like, do you know what? Life isn't bad. You know, life isn't about just achieving or delivering. Life is going to be up and down, and that is okay. And I think that was the thing. It was like, it's okay. It's okay. You know, this moment isn't the same as what it's going to be in an hour. You accept that, but I think we get conditioned on, you know, either living for the future, or we hold ourselves in the past, at past experiences that then lose what's happening right now, which is where the magic happens, you know?
In the moment.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's about being in the moment. And you're right. And we do that a lot as human beings. We dwell on, we have regrets. We look at, you know, what we didn't achieve, and what about now, and what about going for your goals now? That's more important than what's gone. But you use what's gone in your journey in order to inspire that future, and you know, make your future, or this moment right now, special. And that's how we should look at it, rather than them as big, even if it's bad experiences. They're not always going to be good experiences that we have in our lives, but we should use that because it's made us who we are today. So we need to use that as, oh, it's almost like skills, isn't it? It's like, you know, life's an experience. These are almost like skills, like on a job or something that you're learning through the years, and the more you do something, it's like the same thing. And I think if we approach it like that, instead of thinking, oh, I wish I did that and I didn't take that opportunity when I had that, but what about now, this moment? Like, yes, you didn't then, but you know, it probably wasn't the outcome you wanted, and you could have done this. So now let's, for your next opportunity or the next time in your life, let's make the most of it. And that's how I've done. That's how I've looked at it. You know, ever since I had COVID last year, that was, when you talk about a light bulb going off in your head, and me being hospitalized for 4 days and stuff. And when I came out of that, there was a lot of anger and like where my life was, and I was doing a lot of that, looking back and regretting things. And then I got to that point where, just stop. What's the point? It's gone. Move on now. you know, the outcome could have been different. I might not be here today. So I am. So now let's look at what you can do in this moment and for your future that's going to impact it and have a better life for you, rather than looking at, oh, that's the life I had. But what about the life you have now and going forwards? How can you impact that? So, no, definitely. I definitely think that, and having that mindset of, you know, let's live in the moment. And but us as human beings, we love dwelling on stuff too much to the detriment of ourselves. And that holds us back from progression and moving forwards today because of what went on yesterday or a few years ago or what have you.
Yeah, and it, you know, like what you said is spot on, as in you've had a really traumatic experience and it took that to kind of get that light bulb moment to go, for you to go, shit, I've got to start living right now.
Yeah.
You know, what do I want from life? What am I? So, and that is for most people, it takes something really serious to kind of slap them in the face and wake them up before they actually start to do anything. And I think a lot of it, from what I've seen, is, you know, the mind is a muscle, but when you want to build biceps, you can see it growing, you can see it changing, but your mind, you can't see anything. So there's no way to measure it unless you're already able to be present and able to practice mindfulness, you know. So that's another thing. People might start, they do a little bit and then they go, oh, it's not worth it, nothing's happening. But you know, let's get over instant gratification, because it's not real. You know, the only thing that offers that is Google when it works. Right?
When your server's working, yeah. But you're right. You always think about that, ain't it? Now we want it now. The instant success, the instant reward. We don't look at the long game. That is like sometimes it's a dripping tap. It's just like a little bit at a time before the sink fills up. You know, we have to do these little drops, and then you'll see it in the long term. You know, it's like that's how we shape our future and our success. It's not going to come straight away, and those that don't last. So, you know, do you want something that's short term and could be gone tomorrow, or do you want something that, you know, is going to be around for a long time and last and be actually fulfilling and something people actually look up to and aspire to be? So yeah, that's it. It is, but that's a tough mental battle as well, though, because, you know, that whole thing of I'm putting this work in, but I'm not seeing anything. Because I can relate with this whole YouTube thing, where I put in all this work. I'm like, I need that amount of subscribers, I need that amount of viewers, but I'm getting so much positive comments about how great it is. And why haven't I got these? See what I mean? Because you want to see that. You're like, so I get it. But then you need to think of this as a journey and this is a process. And you know, you have to grow, and bit by bit you'll get there. And it's kind of like I keep on telling myself that. And I'm like, yeah, no, it will happen. Just take your time, bit by bit. And as you evolve, you get better. You get the experience. You learn what to do. You know, you become a specialist at what you do. And and that's kind of how I tell myself, because there is still those inner demons still trying to go at you and say, "I know, but it ain't happening. What are you doing?" You know, this whole like imposter syndrome. What are you doing here? Why are you doing it? Why did you start this? What did you?
The mind loves to give you a problem. If the mind's not giving you a problem, it's not happy.
Those internal, you know, that internal dialogue. Constant. But yeah, you just play it down, and as long as you can answer that. I think the self-doubt comes in is when you don't have the answers for it, and it's giving you all of this, and it's saying, well, you're not, what are you doing? And you're just like, oh, what am I doing? I don't actually know. There isn't that clear focus in your head, and you kind of give into that.
Exactly. And we all want the easy way out. So if I could give everyone, you know, their future, and you know, if you did this right now and in a year's time, this is what you're going to have, then you're going to be happy about making the decision whether to do it or not. But life doesn't work like that, you know. And if it did, we'd find something else to moan about.
There'd always be something. That's our nature, isn't it, as human beings? There's always something. It doesn't matter what you have. You know, that's
Yeah.
why you've got multimillionaires maybe having their dream job, but they're still moaning about something.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have that house, or I don't have that, you know, my wife doesn't look this way, or whatever. There's always
Mhm.
something, isn't there? So
The
talk to
grass.
yeah about any pros and cons about what you do. You love what you do, but I'm sure
Yeah, so I do. I love it. And the pros are definitely seeing people just transform, because that's what they do. They transform, and sometimes they don't see it, and that is what I love. And how I coach, I don't give answers. They've got to figure it out
mm,
themselves. And it's just like when they give me that answer, I'm like, yes, like let's get the champagne. You've done it. You've started to work out how your mind works, and now you're going to start to perform better in your life. So those for me are like the massive pros. The cons are it can drain your energy physically,
I'm
like
sure.
because you give out so
Yeah.
much energy. But I'm very much in touch with that, and I know when I need to just back off, and I'm comfortable with backing off. I think when people feel that they need to deliver all the time and they completely deplete their energy, that's when they get ill and, everything else comes over. Whereas I kind of recognize it and go, okay, right, we need to have a break now, and I love my quiet time. I'm more than happy not talking to people, just being quiet, and that for me is what recharges my energy. So,
Yeah,
you know,
that's so important because you give so much, don't you, in your
yeah.
sessions? You're giving a lot of you,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you know it's important to recharge like a battery.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Recharge it, you know, and refuel for a bit and pace yourself. And again, that's with experience and knowing yourself. You know, being
Yeah.
aware, being very self-aware.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
And I'm sure you've learned that over the years from what you've been through. Is you know you've become very self-aware, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. And it sounds silly, but I always say to people, like, for me, it feels like a superpower because I'm just so in tune with how I feel and what serves me, what doesn't serve me. And I'm so happy and confident in saying yes or no,
Yeah.
and it is almost, it feels like a superpower because life flows now. Something that will come up that's designed to block me, I just go around it. There's no kind of like, oh shit, something's blocked, I can't go. Oh no, this is cool. What do I need to learn? Okay, well, let's do this avenue. Okay, it's worked. And it's being able to have that kind of power and intuition. Yeah, it's amazing.
Have you got any advice for anyone who wants to, you know, get into mindset coaching and lifestyle and become a lifestyle performance specialist? Any advice? Any tips?
Any tip? Well, do you know what? You've got to be confident in what you're doing, and I think it's really unfair. I had something trigger me the other day on an app called Clubhouse where they were talking about how to fix stress, and someone claimed to be able to fix it within 4 sessions over 2 weeks. And I had to go up on stage and say something because it triggered me so much. And there's a lot of coaches out there, or a lot of people, and do you know what? They're not to fault because it's who sold them the course in the first place. It's a
Yeah,
chain
no,
effect,
true.
right? So they will say, well, this is how you fix stress. Okay, cool. But are we going to look at the root cause and actually deal with that? Because you cannot fix something that's been a major factor of your life for 15 years. 99% of us suffer with stress. 99.9, like literally, stress is a way of life. We have varying degrees.
Yeah.
And with someone like me, if I didn't have the stress, I couldn't cope. How ironic is
Mm-hmm.
that? But having that amount of stress is not healthy. So if I wasn't able to get myself out of the jar and have a look and go, right, you're a high functioning stress addict,
Yeah.
who knows, right? But I'd be none the wiser. And I'd be getting all these little hints off of people to cope with the stress. But the reality is, I'm not dealing with the root cause. I'm not understanding where it's coming from. So I think, you know, if this is something you want to get into, like, you've got to choose your niche. You've got to choose the sort of people you want to help. Like, you can't help everyone.
Yeah.
Not, you know, you're not suited for everyone. Not everyone's going to be suited for what you're offering. So it's really important that you don't muddy the waters, you know, because I just see that person that was advertising that as someone that's picking on the weak and vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because you know yourself, like, if you're that stressed, you'll take anything. And if someone says, because we love a quick reaction, don't we? You got 4 lessons and you're cured. Oh my God, like, when do I sign up? Yeah. So yeah, if this is what you're looking to do, amazing. But know exactly what you want to do and who you want to help. Like, get specific on it and then take the steps to deliver with those people rather than making it broad and open. And of course, do your research. Like, there are so many people out there that are offering courses and qualifications. You've got to be able to connect with that person and be on the same wavelength, you know? Otherwise, you're just going to be going downstream.
I would always think as well in this type of role that you need to be authentic. You need to be a real person, because people who look at this may go into it and think, oh yeah, maybe this is a quick buck, or this is a way just for quick financial gain. And like you said, on Clubhouse, you got people there who are just preying on the weak, who want that instant gratification, and that they can solve this problem, this huge problem in what did they say, 2 months, did you say?
It was 4 sessions, yeah, 2 weeks, 4 sessions, like. Yeah, I know. Hence why
it's ridiculous, never mind 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I think go into it for the right reasons. I think because that would be the worst thing, because you're there to help people and, you know, provide that type of support. So if you're not going in there as a genuine person and wanting to do that, or like people, wanting
Yeah,
to
you've got to like people.
and like to
Yeah.
and, you know, and have that patience, and yeah, that's why I really look up, you know, and what you do and, you know, what you achieve, because I think that's, as I said, that's why I wanted you to tell this story, is because I think it's quite you know, an inspirational one, and you know, I could connect on a lot of levels with what you went through, and, you know, my mindset at certain times, and, you know, what I was going through. So I've connected, definitely. So yeah, it's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
What social media platforms are you on? Where can people find you?
Well, I've got Facebook, which is Unique Life with Rebecca. I've got my Instagram, which is rebecca.p.fox. And I've also got my website, which is empoweredlife.co.uk. So yeah, if you want to check those out, I'll give you the links. And cool. Yeah, hit me up, chat with me.
Rebecca, thank you very much for being a guest. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for your time.
See you later.
See you soon. Bye-bye.